Hey guys, welcome back. We have a quick video for you today. I know you're spending a lot of time in the woods here in November and with good reason. Based on the comments, there are a few of you who have already been able to put a tag on your target buck this year. So I did want to say congratulations, but there's also a lot of hunters out there who are still waiting on their opportunity to get a chance at their target buck. So in today's video, I did want to talk about a few additional rut strategies that I pulled from the comment section of last week's video and how to get out of a rut during the rut. But right off the bat, guys, before we dive into the tips and strategies, I did want to say thank you. Since posting last week's video, this channel grew to over 10,000 subscribers, and I never thought that that would ever be possible. We started this channel over 2 years ago to try to showcase the different habitat improvements that we work on our properties to try to make our properties more attractive to those older deer in the neighborhood and to try to create consistent movement while at the same time trying to create higher odds hunting opportunities to help us accomplish our goals. And so I did want to take some time here to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed, and especially those of you guys who have been around since the beginning. You've taken time out of your busy schedules to watch these videos, give feedback, and share ideas and strategies that you've had success with. So again, thank you very much for helping this channel grow to 10,000 subscribers. It really does mean a lot. We're going to continue to make videos on this new property as we work on the different habitat improvements to try to make this another whitetail paradise. All right, so now let's talk about some additional strategies and how to get out of a rut while hunting the rut. And the most common question that I saw while going through the comment section of last week's video was how to hunt warmer weather. And that's a great question, and it's very relevant because right now here in early November, it is a lot warmer than the average temperature for this time of year. So how is this warm weather going to impact the rut, and what can you do to try to increase your odds of putting a deer on the ground? Well, I think most of you know, and especially if you've been sitting in the woods this past week in the warmer weather, you've probably noticed a drop in daylight deer activity. The first thing that you need to know as it relates to the rut or the breeding season is it's going to take place regardless of the weather. It could be 80 degrees, it could be 10 degrees. That does not matter. The does are going to come into estrus and those bucks are going to breed those does. So regardless of the weather, the rut is still going to take place. However, the warmer weather is going to impact the amount of daylight deer movement you're going to see. So the warmer the weather, the less daylight deer movement. And it goes without saying, but this is not what any of us want. We'd love to have the weather cooler and have those cold fronts make it even colder to increase our chances of seeing daylight deer movement. But guys, it is what it is. The weather is outside of our control. We need to focus on controlling what we can control. And that's capitalizing on this warmer weather, or maybe not necessarily capitalizing, but trying to increase our chances of still having an opportunity in the warmer weather. And there's two things that you guys can be doing to try to increase your chances of having success in this warmer weather. And the first is to try to focus on those morning hunts. It's still fairly cool in the morning here in mid-Michigan. Recently, it's been fluctuating anywhere from the mid-30s to the low 40s, and it doesn't really warm up until about 11:30 in the morning. And because it's cooler in the morning, this is much more comfortable for these deer to move around and more comfortable for those bucks to cruise around and search for does. That doesn't mean abandon your midday hunts or your evening hunts, but just understand that in this warmer weather, there's a good chance that you're going to notice a decrease in daylight deer activity. But again, in the morning, when it's a little bit cooler, those conditions are a little bit more comfortable for those bucks as they're cruising around the neighborhood searching for does. The second thing that you guys should be focusing on right now while hunting in this warmer weather is a water source. Now again, most of the movement is going to take place at night, but these bucks are still going to be cruising around the neighborhood searching for and breeding does. They're going to be moving a lot and they're going to be thirsty, especially right now when it's 60 or 70 degrees in the afternoon. If you have a water source on your property, then that's a location that you need to be focusing on while hunting in this warmer weather. As deer move through your property, there's a good chance that they're going to stop to get a drink before moving on. The second thing that I wanted to briefly touch on in today's video is the lockdown phase, and there's a good chance that we're going to be experiencing that relatively soon. The lockdown phase is when most or all of the bucks in the neighborhood are with a doe. There's going to be a time during the rut when a majority of the does are coming into estrus at the same time. And when this happens, every single buck on your property and in the neighborhood is going to be able to breed a doe. Each one of those bucks is going to be locked on that doe for about 24 hours. And during this period of the rut, it's very common to spend long hours in the stand without seeing a whole lot of deer activity. Maybe besides the fawns who are still hitting those food sources, but mom is off in the thick cover with a buck. And one of the best ways to have an opportunity at one of those older bucks in the neighborhood during the lockdown phase is by getting into that thick cover that those bucks are going to be bringing those does into. So this is a little bit different than the previous strategies that we've talked about, how we're hunting the downwind side of that thick cover as the bucks like to cruise the downwind side of that to scent check it for does. However, during the rut, when these bucks are breeding those does, and especially during the lockdown phase when every buck has a doe, they're going to be in that thick cover and they're not going to come out until they're done breeding that doe. And so if you want to have an opportunity at that buck, one of the best ways is to get into that thick cover. Now this approach is a lot higher risk as you are going to be pushing into that cover. You could bump him out as you're moving in, or if you don't see him, you're going to be leaving scent behind and you could be educating those deer that they're being hunted. But we don't really talk about a whole lot of aggressive strategies on this channel, so I did want to give you guys one as it relates to the lockdown phase to hopefully get you guys a little bit closer to those bucks on your property. The next thing I want to talk about to hopefully help you guys get out of a rut during the rut is your stand locations. Now we've talked about in other videos, hunting bedding in the morning, your food source movement in the afternoon, and that still remains the same. However, a lot of times we can kind of get stuck on that one stand location that we either shot a deer out of in the past or we know the big one's going to walk by. And before you know it, that week that you took off to hunt the rut is over, and when you look back at it, you only hunted 3 or 4 stands in 7 days. If you're hunting the same stands over and over again, you're putting a lot of pressure in those areas, and the chances of having an older deer walk through those locations goes down each time you hunt them. There's a pretty cool study that was recently released on how bucks react to hunting pressure, and they did this with collared bucks. And I'm sure you can guess the results. They do not respond well to hunting pressure. Just going off of memory, I might be off by about a day or two, but after a certain area was hunted, it pushed those deer out of that area, and it took about 5 days for those deer to return to their normal patterns. And what's cool about a lot of these collared buck studies is you can take that information and apply it to your hunting property. If you're hunting a certain stand location and you're hunting it over and over again, there's a good chance that the deer know you're there. And it's going to take them quite a while before they feel comfortable moving through that area like they did before it was hunted. So a lot of times the best stand on your property is the next one. We all have our favorite stand locations, but if we continue to hunt them over and over again, our chances of having an encounter with our target buck, they just continue to go down. So try your best to hunt that stand that hasn't been hunted yet this season. And I'll give you guys an example of this from last season. It was early November. We have our hunting group up at our cabin. Everyone has the week off, hunting the rut, exciting time of the season. Everyone's going to their favorite stands. Everyone has their favorite morning stands. Everyone has their favorite afternoon stands. However, one morning I decided to change things up a bit, and I kind of wanted to scout a certain location from a distance. So I sat a stand that hadn't been hunted probably in the last 5 years. And my goal for that sit was to observe an area to see if I wanted to push into that maybe the following morning or maybe the following evenings. And that morning, I think it was around 8:30, I had a pretty nice buck walk right to me and walk right under the stand. It was fun to see that deer, and it was also really cool to see a decent buck walk right by one of the stand locations that hadn't been hunted in the past several seasons. So if you feel like you're in a rut, you haven't seen deer, maybe you're hunting the same stand over and over again, try to change it up and hunt that stand that hasn't been hunted this season or maybe the past several seasons. And finally, guys, to wrap this video up, if you're feeling like you're in a rut during the rut, try your best to stay patient. Your entire season can change in 10 seconds. You never know when that buck is either going to cruise by or chase that doe or follow that doe right by your stand. Bucks in your neighborhood are going to be breeding a lot of does. And as they're moving from one doe to the next, as they're searching for that next mate, there's a chance that they could be moving right by your stand location. This time of year, those all-day sits really pay off, and I do know that long hours in the stand without seeing a whole lot of deer activity can wear on you, but just understand that everything can change in 10 seconds. But guys, just try your best to stay at it and stay patient, and looks like I do have my little helper here, came over to say hi. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you do have any additional strategies for hunting the rut or hunting the warm weather, I'd love to hear about them. Or if you have any questions, again, please drop those in the comment section below. I'll get back to those as soon as I can. Thank you again for subscribing to the channel. It really does mean a lot to us that we hit 10,000 subscribers. Good luck out there, guys, and we will see you in the next video. Can you say bye?
Bye.